Have you ever wondered what it would be like to be in conversation and in relationship with other people as a more whole version of yourself? Well, you're not alone. And if this idea piques your interest and curiosity, I invite you to join my friend Manak Singh and myself, Dr. Node Smith, as we explore some of life's most challenging and interesting questions and social dilemmas in a conversation that is more about how we are relating to each other and to ourselves, and less about the information that we're presenting. So, welcome to the relational field. This particular podcast episode is exceptionally exciting for us because we have our first guest on the show who we have not previously met before. Uh, Tessaundra reached out to us wanting to explore a topic. And it's a topic that's also near and dear to my heart. And I immediately felt this like kind of inspired divine intervention. And I was like, yes, we're going to do this. So, Tessaundra, since we don't know you really at all, I'm curious if you would just kind of give us a snapshot of who you are, where you are, um, and if you can, just put a pin in like the topic, because I think we're just going to drop it as like a bomb. That's like what's alive for me. We're just going to like, yeah. Okay, so cliffhanger.
Yeah. Well, uh, my name is Dr. Tessaundra Steinhebel. I am a naturopathic physician located in downtown Portland, Oregon. I was raised in California, and I had a very different upbringing than what the status quo doctor may have essentially had, if you will. I feel that I did not grow up with the quote privilege that typical doctors may stereotypically grow up with, if I may say, speaking my truth. And with an interesting environment, if you will, helped shape me into the naturopathic physician I am, and also the person that I am, being 33 years old now and married, have a cat and a kitten and an albino Burmese python named Banana.
Did you say a
And
Bernese python named Banana?
Burmese
Oh,
python
that's so
named Banana.
cool.
Yeah, yeah, she is awesome. And just being able to navigate life and essentially go from fending for myself to finding myself, and really what I like out of life is my new chapter that I've been on for the past few years. And I find that as a person experiencing the things that I have, experiencing current things and have experienced past events that have ultimately shaped me into who I am today, I feel has been challenging to relate to other people. And I felt a calling to speak about this. And when I discovered your podcast, I thought, maybe this is the opportunity that I've been looking for and had never presented itself in the past.
So I have a question come up
Yeah.
for me when I hear you talk, and that is, speaking about this, what would that do for you?
I feel it'll help me have this release that I've been really, really needing, a release of the weight and the heaviness that I've been carrying, and that has manifested in myself, in my physical body, my mental, emotional health, and being able to share my story and ultimately reach others in a kind, compassionate, forthcoming, authentic, genuine way. I feel like I might also cry, and I'm okay with that because it happens.
Well, I'm so glad to hear that you're okay with crying, because I probably will cry this episode too, for sure. And I love crying. It's like my favorite. When
Yeah.
you were talking about your upbringing, I really had this sense in my stomach of like just kind of like lurching, like, oh, like roller coaster, kind of like, oh man, there's like a heaviness there. And I really felt you when you were kind of touching on the transition and like going from fending for yourself to, creating a life for yourself. And I have a sense that some of that's going to come up, and I'm really excited to get real curious about it. But um, let's just drop into this topic. The topic that we want to discuss, and not really discuss, but explore our relationship to, is being an estranged child, or just estranged children, and that whole culture, and what is that? Well, it's out. It's been said. I feel a release already, but also I feel this like real anxiety, like, oh fuck, like what is gonna happen next?
Me too. I have a sense of anticipation because this is a world that I have no experience with. So I have no expectation of anything, but I know it's not an easy topic to talk about. So very, very curious to see what comes up.
Well, thank you for your curiosity, because it's something that I have really longed to just bluntly say. Because, if you've used social media, you've seen it in movies, you've seen it, in any other outlet that you may use.
Yeah.
And
Tessaundra, what comes up for you right now, like with like thinking about like the social media posts and just culturally, kind of how this is presented, or how you see it presented. What comes up for you right now?
right now, what's coming up is a couple of areas. One is some social media posts say, cut off toxic family. Uh, you don't need that kind of thing in your life. And then there's the other side of the spectrum, because there's always a spectrum in things in life that we explore, is, but it's your mom.
Yeah.
She's your mother. She's your blood. Why? She tried. And then no one ever questions, what did she really do? Who is she really? How did she feel growing up? What were
The
things that
mom.
she was?
The mom. Oh yeah. Like, where did this come from?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And no one, like, and then kind of tying it to naturopathic medicine, like we aim to find the root cause.
Yeah.
Well, my root cause was generational trauma that no one fucking fixed. No one, I mean, I say fucking fixed because I like alliteration, but no one fucking addressed anything. And I fucking did. I am the one who chose to break the cycle of abuse. I am the one woman in my family from a long lineage of people who have narcissistic traits, have egotistical self-centeredness, because it was learned patterns of behavior that no one took the time to explore and find what makes me into the person I am today. And once I was in naturopathic school, really, I feel like began after my uncle died suddenly of methamphetamine overdose back in August 2016.
Yeah, that's real. That's real.
And
Like I hear that, and I'm like, I gotta get tears in my eyes, because it's like, okay, yeah, we're in the underbelly of society right now. Like, we're not talking about some, oh yeah, my mom was a little bit too overbearing. You know.
I'm talking like deep-seated trauma that she will never be able to face because she just simply doesn't know how, and is pointing the finger at past family members who have since passed and blaming them and not taking an ounce of responsibility for the shit that happened. But I fucking did.
And when you say that, you know you've taken responsibility for yourself and for your healing, like what are you feeling right now?
A lot of empowerment.
Yeah.
Like I am literally an unstoppable freight train that's just, you get in my way, then you're getting mowed down. Like it's, you know, I don't have time to explain myself because I don't owe anybody a damn explanation for how I feel. I've tried that route and it got shut down, and I was told, have a nice life, goodbye. Door slammed in my face, my mother stormed off, and it just made me feel abandoned again, feeling like I have forgiveness that she sucked. I have forgiveness that my father was an alcoholic and died when I was 21 and essentially abandoned me, you know, not even a year into my life, and then continually abandoned me. And to have those feelings just shut down and shut off, and not being able to have an emotionally safe environment growing up from not only one parent but from two parents, and having to really fend for myself and feel like, oh, this isn't normal to cry like this. This isn't normal to be told that I'm, you know, essentially feeling like I'm not good enough, no matter what I do, no matter how good of a kid I am, no matter how good grades I got. I didn't grow up with that privilege. I didn't grow up with a lot of money. I grew up in a tumultuous survival of the fittest environment.
Oh man, when you were like when you were talking about empowerment and like being like a freight train, like I felt like I was getting run over, and I was like, oh man, there's some like anxiety in my chest, like, ooh, like is there room for me here to like interact with Tessaundra? And it was like, okay, I'm gonna be here and kind of see where this goes. And it was like there was a bit of space. I almost said softening, but it wasn't soft. But there was like a little bit of space that opened up when you started to like kind of like explain some of the details, or you know, kind of generally some of the details. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm here with you. Like I want to know more. But what I really want to know is, um, yeah, I kind of want to know like what is, and this might be like yeah, I'm not even gonna. I want to know like what is your relationship with your kind of parents and family of origin now? Like how is that kind of in your internal world?
Essentially, I do not have contact with my biological mother or my biological brother. My grandmother died last year, as well as my step-grandfather. I never knew my biological grandfather on my mother's side. My biological father's dead. My biological paternal uncle is dead, the one who died of the overdose a couple years ago, which really kind of triggered this estrangement again. And I do talk to some of my family of origin, like cousins.
Okay.
But, and some of the cousins that I do keep in contact with do support me wholeheartedly and say, oh, you're the one who helped yourself break the cycle of abuse.
What's
and
that?
They recognize.
What's that like? What's that like to have like relationships in the family of origin that, you know, kind of, yeah, that see that this is something that you've had to do?
Well, they also have it in common and have maybe not fully estranged themselves from my mother and brother, but have really kept distance and really limited contact, whereas I have decided I have to go completely no contact because it's just not healthy for my physical health or my mental emotional health.
Yeah.
I mean, we can get pretty deep and intense here. Just let me know what
Yeah.
level of intensity
Well,
we're
I'm
thinking
curious,
we want to go.
what is that like for you? Like what, because you said 5 years. It's been 5 years. Is
Yes,
that
about
right?
5 years.
Okay.
Yeah, about 5 years from like a estrangement attempt, like really like number 2.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. Like the first one didn't kind of work. Like you couldn't maintain that
Exactly.
boundary. And then,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
then this one's been 5 years. Okay. What,
Yes.
what is that like for you to, not, for you to not have contact? Like,
For me, I feel, of course, I feel like a sense of sadness at
yeah.
times. I do feel some grief still
Yeah.
on occasion, but mostly I feel freedom. I
Yeah.
feel the ability to choose me
Yeah.
because I do choose me. I choose my life. I
Yeah.
am a great person.
Yeah.
I am not going to feel that I am anything that my mother talked about me, told me,
Yeah.
made me feel when I was growing up,
Mm.
because those feelings of inadequacy are coming from someone who's so deeply wounded that is just so utterly
Yeah.
traumatized from just so much trauma, generational trauma, and her own trauma, and just I also really just feel very sad for her.
Yeah. I feel that. I sense that sadness. Like I have this kind of idea that there's like a sadness of like, yeah, yeah, like what could life have been if I, like if I had like what I see on movies or what I see, my, or what I hear from my friends and see in their relationships with their parents. Is that kind of where that sadness is, or is it something different?
I feel it's a little different in a way of feeling like I've seen people be able to communicate their feelings to their parents and say,
Mm.
hey, I feel, and using I statements saying, like, I feel you were there for me in XYZ way, but I feel that you neglected or failed in this way. And this is essentially giving feedback and being like, and this is why I, may have distanced myself. And when I did attempt to, you know, have this bravery and tell my mother, like, Mom, I feel that you were there for me. Yes, you bought me clothes, you took me to school, drove me to volleyball, you did all these things. Like, you met my basic needs on the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if you will.
Mm.
But what you failed to do was to support me emotionally and to be there. And then that's when she just stormed off and told me to have a nice life and that I must be lying to my therapist about things that I've talked to my therapist about. And that's when I just really felt like, well, if you really feel that way, then that's
Mm.
okay. But I cannot let someone continually abuse me like this into my adulthood. And that's when I really chose myself, because I thought either I have a crappy relationship with my mother like she did with her mom,
Mm.
or I choose me and have an authentic,
Mm-hmm.
fulfilling life
Mm.
on my own. And so I chose the challenging path of righteousness.
Mm.
Yeah, what's coming up for me right now
Yeah. What are
is
you with?
How uncommon it is to have your emotional needs respected and met in families.
Yeah.
And how undervalued that is, and what kind of impact it can have in the future. I mean, when people think about abusive families, they're thinking about sexual abuse, stuff like that, domestic violence. But I sometimes feel that emotional neglect, and I'm not saying that emotional neglect is the only thing that's happening here, but just the emotional neglect piece, I sometimes feel is more damaging than any kind of physical abuse.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really with that vignette of like it. Yeah, it I'm with that vignette of this was my experience, and like I'm coming to you wanting to talk about it, and then just having it like totally be abandoned, and being just pushed away, and having that relationship severed. And I'm just like, I I have a hard time like finding a place to put that, um, in any type of kind of reasonable functionality. It's like there's a lot of things that people do where I'm like, yeah, if I'm a mature person, like I can kind of respect that and kind of roll with it. Um, but yeah, when that kind of yeah, that vignette really like hits me hard. I just don't know what to do with it.
I feel and notice and just really feel like it makes sense that you may not know what to do with it because it's a different experience. Like we all have our upbringings, and whether they're black and white, good or bad, or you know
Mm-hmm.
the gray scale all over the place, and like some bits and pieces that may have been a little traumatic, but in a way not really forgivable, but I can't really think of a better term right now to use, but being able to understand and have compassion and be like, oh, I know I tried, but just the feelings that I felt for so many years, and being able to finally really put a pinpoint on that, and realize like that was not a normal
Yeah.
childhood, and being able to express myself and then still be denied as an adult, I thought, and felt like, well, this is why a lot of people who grew up with childhood emotional neglect and verbal abuse can really struggle and either continue that cycle of alcoholism or, you know, methamphetamine use, other drugs, other substances, or emotionally neglecting their children and verbally abusing because that was what they learned.
Yeah.
And abuse gets abuse until someone breaks the cycle. And I've always felt like that I was the chosen one in a way. Like I was the one, I was the baby of the family. I have a sibling, I'm the youngest. And I just always felt this sense of like, I can do better. I want to do better. Like
Yeah.
when I'm old enough, I can leave, I can go, I can explore, I can go figure out who I am and who I want to be.
Yeah.
As an adult, what does it make you feel when you find out that you're still denied as an adult? What does that
It's
bring up in
incredible.
you?
It brings up feelings of, well, my first thought was inadequateness of like, wow, I guess I still feel inadequate from egg and sperm to, you know, billions of cells. I still feel inadequate. And I feel after so many years of trying and understanding and being compassionate and empathic and loving and caring and willing to cope and understand, I literally just got tired of the abuse. And that's when I decided to walk away. And after my grandparents died last year, or about 4 months apart, May and September last year, I just really saw the greed and all the dysfunction in my mother and brother, and it was like, okay, this is really like why I'm keeping my boundaries firm, because there were a lot of hurtful things said to me that I understand where the hurt comes from. But again, it goes back to taking responsibility for our feelings and learning how to cope with things, and realizing like, well, if the tables were turned, if I just blame my mother, I don't feel that she would appreciate that. She always said, I tried, I did everything for you, I sacrificed my life, I gave up everything for you. And I felt like, in a way it's almost comical to be like, well, I gave up my life for you. I'm like, well, what did you give up?
Mm-hmm.
Really.
Yeah, it's like this. It's like this enmeshment, right? It's like this. Like,
Absolutely.
I need to like I need to have control over your life because it has some type of significance for me. Yeah, it's a very interesting phenomenon.
It is, and it's very again going back to like how I'm noticing feeling like that it might be challenging to wrap your minds around this because maybe had a different experience growing up.
I mean, I'm tracking so far. I'm
Okay.
familiar enough with with everything you've said. Yeah.
And being able to speak about it and feel like, oh, well, I do have a community. I'm building my own community,
Yeah.
essentially. You know, my cats look at me like you can do nothing wrong except
Oh,
when you don't feed us.
they
And I'm
don't
like,
like
well,
that. They don't like
no,
the cats don't like it when they don't get fed. Uh,
no,
to
but
Sandra, there's a kind of an aliveness in me. I'm I'm wondering if it would be okay, and I'm fine to stick with your exploration here, but I'm curious if I could share an impact that this is having on me and maybe steer us in kind of a different direction, if that would be okay.
absolutely, I'm interested in hearing your thoughts.
Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
I was like so I was so nervous, that we were that I was going to be like, I don't know, disagree or something with you. I don't know. And because I have a beautiful relationship with my mom, like, and my whole family. Uh, and I grew up in a pretty dysfunctional home with methamphetamine use and with family members and alcoholism and stuff like that. But my mom started going to well, actually, my whole family started getting into recovery when I was about 17 years old. And so I have this, and it transformed my family's life in a major way. And we started to see a lot of these things that you're talking about. Like, okay, yeah, there are these patterns, and this is an intergenerational disease, and like my grandfather had this and my grandmother didn't know how to cope with it, and so it got passed down, to my mom and then to us as kids. And and I so i grew up as an adult with this culture of recovery, of kind of looking at personality defects and taking accountability for our relationships and our roles in relationships and things like that. And um, la da 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 da. And years later, um, it's my sister who's estranged from our family, and I don't understand it. I mean, I understand it to a certain degree. Like I hear your story, and I'm like, it's like, okay, this this may be how my sister orients to the relationship that she has with my mom, for sure. 100%. And when I take that vignette of like just casting out like any you know bid for connection, any attempt for you know rationally healing a relationship, I'm like, man, that's like so far removed from the experience in my family. Yet, it's been presented as this kind of, yeah. And I just, like, I've lost my sister because of this like estrangement culture. And I, it's like, I understand that like, I appreciate the boundaries, and I'm like, yeah, like that makes a lot of sense. And then I think that there are these instances where it doesn't make sense. And I think that there are counselors and therapists who are telling people, they're kind of co-opting somebody's, experience, but not pushing into whether or not it's reality. And yeah, I just think that there's like you said, there's a range. And I'm really curious as to kind of how that end of the spectrum sits with you as somebody who, I hear everything you're saying without the details, but it's like, okay, yeah, that seems to track pretty well, as a healthy move. Yeah. So how does that land for you?
Well, first, thank you for sharing that perspective, because again, estrangement can be in many forms, and it's really about the perception of the person that is estranged, and then let's say estrangee. Like,
yeah,
I have my own personal reasons, and I really feel like the main root cause of where my feelings of choosing estrangement was really for my own physical, mental, emotional health, because of being in chronic stress from childhood, being in such a tumultuous environment, seeing all that level of dysfunction, and not having that keyword of accountability and recovery and being able to be different, and hearing my mother say, oh, my parents did this when I grew up and I didn't like it. And then me as a child feeling like, well, if you didn't like something, then why would you continue it? And then as an adult, being able to fully explore that question and being like, oh, well, I get it. Because sometimes, let's say, the path of least resistance, it's easier to just go with the status quo than to ruffle feathers and be the estranged one, be the black sheep, be the one who people think like, well, what did your mother do so wrong? Your family looks great. And then feeling like, oh, well, everyone can put a mask on. We're all great actors and actresses and posers, if you will.
Yeah.
Is how I metaphorically felt that my life has been. And feeling like I have a choice. I have a choice to either continue the abuse onto my children and to be just as a terrible mother as my mother was to me, or I can choose the challenging path, the latter of the righteousness path, the path of being able to have choice and to make changes, make new opportunities for children that are already unconditionally loved, and feeling like I already love my children who haven't even been born yet, haven't been created, because I feel like that's the best thing that I could do for myself, is to unconditionally love myself and to, feel that strength. And with the help of my own, higher power, if you will.
Oh yeah.
I have done some, recovery work in myself to help me with these things. And feeling like, my higher power unconditionally loves me and I unconditionally love myself, type of thing. And just being able to understand that not everyone will understand my perspective, and I'm okay with that. It's totally fine that people may not understand.
Can you say that that last part about perspective? I missed something there.
Sure. I feel that I have to be okay with people not understanding my perspective on being estranged. And it's totally fine if people do not understand my perspective and my reality, and being able to, hold space for that, and understand like, oh, well, if I were in those shoes, I would probably choose the same thing, because I would not want to be continually abused.
Yeah,
I would
see
want
that.
to be able to stand up for myself. I would want someone to have basic respect for me,
Oh yeah.
being able to talk to me. Like, I mean, that, you know, I feel like there's not enough time in this podcast to really get to, you know, the deep-seated trauma. But let me tell you, it's so deep-seated that I can only help myself, and no one is going to save you, type of thing.
Yeah.
I can only help myself. And I've had to really, really, really do that. And that, you know, this is a very intense thing for me to, you know, really dive into. And I noticed that it's intense for everyone, whether you have experience with estrangement or not.
So I'm picking up on something here, and I don't know if it's my projection or if it's something that is truly happening.
Project away.
I know you mentioned feeling empowered, talking about this previously. But yet I believe you, and I also sense that there's something more, something heavier. And when I feel you tear up as you talk about this and as you recall incidents, I get the sense that this estrangement, this decision of yours, I get the sense that you have at least initially punished yourself for it. And coming on the podcast and talking about this publicly is an act of self-love. And that is one of the things that is really making you emotional and tearing you up, because you're sort of forgiving yourself for being so hard on yourself. Is that accurate?
Damn. No other words. Yes, I feel like you really hit the nail on the head with that one, Manak. I truly feel like for the longest time, I felt a lot of guilt. Like, why am I doing this? It's my mother. She did try. She did do things. And then after having space and being able to really think for myself, feel for myself, do things for myself, I felt like, oh, well, the verbal abuse, the put downs, the rude comments, like the unnecessary commentary, I felt like if anything, I owed it to myself to be able to find the inner strength that I knew I always had, but it was really just shut down by my mother, who really essentially had all the power. And it's like, if you give power to someone, they will use that power to take everything from your soul.
Yeah.
And being able to express my truth right now, as challenging as it is, and as you know, as uncomfortable it is for me, it's really liberating to be able to share this with you, and being able to express it, because I feel that it's really not something that people can really ever grasp unless you've been in a situation of, like, either estranging yourself from someone, a friendship, or a family, or whatever the relationship may be. But it's just so deep seated, and just a needed there's just a need to be able to talk about it, because if we have, you know, if we're all isolated as, you know, people who are estranged from parents or siblings or multiple family members, it's something that people just simply don't understand, because they just think, oh, your family, you'll, you know, work through it. And it's like, but you haven't even asked a question on what made it like this in the first place, kind of what we've talked about.
It's like, that's a big assumption.
Yeah,
like, that's a really big assumption. If all family means is that I'm related to you, like, that's I mean, okay, like, why does that give you the right? Yeah, like, that doesn't mean anything. You know, that's like, family is so much more than that. It's what gives me my sense of belonging in the world. And if if my family if my family experience at a young age is riddled with abandonment and shame and abuse, and like that's my belonging in the world. Like I've been imprinted with this sense of being a defective human being. And it's like then I take that out into all these other relationships, which is then toxic, for everybody I encounter, which is a kind of horrible situation. And so to see that and like, oh, okay, yeah, I see that this is happening, and I can't allow this to happen. I mean, there may be other options, but if the option that is actually working best is to separate from that environment completely, well, hey, I, I think it's a legitimate option. Yeah.
When you say that, I remember hearing somebody say that you can't heal in a war zone.
Yeah.
Like sometimes that is the only option to heal.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. Yeah. Tessaundra, I'm curious, and this may be a kind of an edgy question, but I'm gonna ask it because
go ahead.
And you don't have to answer it because it's somewhat of a projected question. Because I don't think that my sister would be able to like have this conversation. I'm estranged from my sister and I don't talk. It's just kind of the windfall of her estrangement with my mom. Just it kind of threw me into that as well. I mean, we'll share the odd text and whatnot, but I don't have the sense that I could have this conversation with her, that we could connect at this level. But if we could, I would love to ask her two things, and you can answer either or both or none. Totally fine. One is, do you want to have a relationship with a mother? Is that important or valuable to you? And there's a secondary question on there. Do you want your daughter to have a relationship with her grandmother? So that's just a question. And then the second question would be, what would your mother have to do or say to demonstrate to you that she was safe to be around?
Well, those are really great questions, very thought-provoking and very, like one thing I'll share real quick is something I learned in therapy when I was in the process of feeling like, estrangement, and like getting help with, coping with the estrangement from my mother, because it was very real and my feelings were validated in therapy. And again, kind of circling back before I get too dead, I don't want to deviate too far, but therapist said like, well, I don't know the mother, but from what your perspective is, I validate it, and yes, it, the emotional neglect and verbal abuse, that's very real, and that's your subjective feeling, and no one can, deny your reality. And so to, consistently have my feelings denied and emotions neglected, I feel like, at this point, I really don't know if there's any way that I would be able to truly have a relationship with my mother unless she chooses to take the bull by the horns, look at it head on, and face the fear, face the trauma, face everything that happened from before she was even born, and her upbringing and all the events that happened. And I can't do that for her. It's her choice. And if she does not feel that she has a problem, which has been stated many times of, oh, I'm fine, and no problem, just bury my head in the sand and move on. And it's like, okay, well, I hear this and I disagree, and that's okay. We can agree to disagree, if you will. So I've chosen that I'm not going to have a crappy relationship with my mother just because we're blood. Like, I'm not going to play that game. I saw how it really tore up my mother's, you know, self. She gave, you know, she essentially was waiting, you know, her whole life for something and never achieved it, never got it. And I feel like she, you know, on like my grandma's deathbed, never took an opportunity to even talk and say anything.
Wow.
I was there holding my grandma's hand when she was dying.
Mm.
And I felt like, well, you know, at least I can have my peace and at least I can say how grateful I am despite all the things that happened. Because I wasn't going to take responsibility for, you know, my mother and whatnot. I took responsibility for myself, being like, hey, you know, just because my mom and I don't talk doesn't mean that I don't love my grandma. Doesn't mean that it's
Yeah.
anything that you did or didn't do. That's between you two, and you two would need to have a talk. So essentially, to address your questions now, I'm not going to force myself to have a relationship with my mother because it's really not healthy at all on any level. She would have to go get some deep-seated trauma, like who knows, psilocybin therapy might be something that could help, but like that kind of level, like PTSD and a lot of abuse, if you will. And you know, in relation to how I feel with my husband and I have been together for, well, we've been married for a little over a year. December will be 2 years, but we've been together for over 10 years now. And, you know, we have our own little family. And he has expressed how he doesn't feel like it would be safe for our kids to have a relationship because I don't want to expose them to the emotional neglect that I had. Because I don't feel that if someone values themselves or feels like they love themselves unconditionally, then how could they be better for my child? And there's really just no way. There's just no way. And it's to protect my peace. If that answers your question. So, you know, we may never know why people don't get help other than they're playing the victim and expecting someone else to take responsibility. It's like, well, guess what? Those people are dead. They're not coming back.
Yeah. It's really interesting what's coming up for me, like hearing you say that. You know, and I won't like get into my mom's story, like, you know, too much, but like, you know, my mom's circled with us. You know, my mom's like 25 years, you know, trauma recovery and all this stuff. And it's like, I have a pretty keen sense that she's done a lot of deep work. And it's really interesting because kind of what's coming up for me is this idea of, you know, could I be projecting onto my parent because I don't want to do the work? You know, it's like, oh, it's scary. Like, I don't want to have to like heal and learn that, you know, forgiveness is a part of this, that, you know, that I got to let things go eventually in order to move on. And am I just projecting this scenario? And I mean, it might have elements of reality for sure. I'm not denying that. But is it possible that I could, in my own discomfort of that, of my own trauma, be, you know, projecting this on to somebody and kind of not taking the facts into account? I'm just kind of playing around with that idea right now.
I hear that, and I feel like it's possible.
Yeah.
I feel like in my own experience, if I may, I recall my mother saying like, well, you know, my mother abused me, my father abused me, my brother abused me.
Yeah.
And then I thought, what have you done in your, you know, 30-something, 40-something years of life have done to help yourself, like genuinely help yourself? Like, sure, you can go to some talk therapy, but if you just learn compartmentalization and you don't actually address the root cause of the trauma, then it's just still going to be there. Your amygdala is still going to light up. Your sympathetic nervous system is going to be in overdrive.
And family dynamics are hard family dynamics are hard regardless of, I mean, just interacting with family is charged, in the best of times. And so this is complex work. I mean, if you're a parent who is, not understanding why your child is, not talking, I mean, get a mirror and examine really closely, because, if you're not seeing your shadow elements, then they're controlling you, period. Because we all have them. We all have defects of character and controlling tendencies and ego that wants our way and gets really defensive and wants to, lash out when it feels uncomfortable or threatened. And until you can see that and interact with, the devil inside of me, you can bet dollars over donuts that you're wreaking havoc in your relationships and you don't even know it.
I have, hearing this entire discussion, I have such a sadness coming up inside me when I think about, your mom and the decisions she's made, and other parents like her. It's like, I have empathy for that. And I also have a sadness that there's an unwillingness to look at themselves. And it's almost like I want to help them. I want to do something about that. But if you're unwilling, there's really nothing I can do, or there's really nothing anyone else can do.
And that's the catch-22. I mean, I don't know, Tessaundra, if you've run up against this in your practice yet, but that's like the pain of being a doctor, is like being able to see that the answer's right there in front of somebody, but you can only show them. You can't make them do it.
Exactly.
It's hard.
I hear that, and one thing like I noticed that came up within myself when Manak was saying, sense of sadness. Like, yes, I hear that too. It is very sad when you think about it, that a mother can be so deeply wounded and look at her child and say, you're the one with the attitude, like you're essentially the problem. And I just looked back and thought, I was such a good kid. I got good grades. I took responsibility for myself. I was overly responsible. Like type A responsibility. Like you ask me to jump, I say how high, how many times, I will do it. I will get things done. You don't have to ask me twice. I didn't have like a typical childhood where everything was great. And then there were some other, things that were going on in my mother's life that I'm like, oh, okay, so I just have to bend for you because you feel like I'm yours and I can't be my own person.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I am having a nice life. Like those are like the last words she told me, like back in, August 2021. And I'm like, or whenever it was, like maybe December 2022, that I finally stood up and was like, okay. Because in like 2021, it was like after my uncle died of sudden drug overdose, and I'm like, man, like another death. Like I'm trying to grieve, no boundaries, no one's respecting my space, no one's understanding that I need some time to just fucking grieve. And just seeing how invasive my brother and mother are and just how dysfunctional they are, I just thought like, oh dear God, I don't want this shit anymore. So then I stood up for myself and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna, rent a car, I'm gonna have some space for myself. And then it was like, feeling like I abandoned them, and I'm like, I didn't do anything. Like you guys need to, look within yourselves and help yourself. And then, that following Christmas, I went out to see my grandparents because they were getting old. And I thought, well, this could be the last time I could see them, and you never know. And well, fortunately it wasn't, but I finally found the bravery and said, Mom, I forgive you. I've been in therapy, this and that. And then And it's just when it really like was slammed in my face of like, she really, really doesn't know any better. And I forgive that, but I'm not going to accept it anymore. And that felt really liberating and sad, really sad, because it's just so challenging to see your own mother essentially do this to herself subconsciously or unconsciously.
Yeah.
And for the fact that people like literally do not understand, it's like, it's okay if you don't understand. I get it.
Oh.
I'm a very understanding, empathic person. And
I think that is I think sadness and liberation coexisting. I think that's a great bookend to end on.